always been an early riser. I get to see things that most people just don't appreciate because they're still in bed. I love the sunrise. I love the sound of the birds. I love the feelings of the earth waking up. I also really enjoy going for a walk out in the woods. This is driving up my driveway. It's just, if you get up early, you see things that most people just, don't have a chance to see. I also enjoy going out to my shop, and on this particular weekend, it's my day off, I decided to do a bit of milling. So I had a few logs that were floating around that I've been stockpiling, and I need some lumber. So this is redwood, and redwood is a fairly good outdoor construction lumber that I use for a number of different projects. And the quality of this wood's pretty reasonable. It's not super tight grain, but it's good stuff. So I got out the Lucas mill again, and had my buddy give me a hand offloading the lumber. I was cutting just a bunch of different types of wood for a particular project that I have in mind. I'll go into that later. So I got 2x4s and fence boards and 2x6s and 4x4s. And, it's kind of fun to start with a tree and come up with the building materials to make something. Even the sawdust I find valuable. I integrate the sawdust into my landscape, and that is probably one of the most valuable things that I can do for keeping the plants healthy is the organic matter. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is slabs. People are often saying, why do you bother cutting lumber? Why don't you cut big slabs? Well, I like to do both. And you do make more money off of the slabs, but you need lumber. You need lumber for, different projects. And I don't think about my building project so much as, how much can I make out of it? I think about, what am I going to do with it? But I always end up with some nice slabs. And this particular slab, I cut out of this, it was near the end, and I cut a 3 3/4 inch thick piece. There's a few little cracks in there that was near the edge of the log, and I could have easily cut them off and made it shorter. But this is a slab that I am going to sell. I've got a buyer for it. He wants to use it for a headboard. So he's going to mount it to a wall with a French cleat, and it's going to, we'll end up cutting it down to fit the size of the bed. I left the natural edge on it, and I'm going to clean it up. I'll probably end up finishing it for him all the way through. Probably do an oil poly finish for this one. I like to bring the grain out, make it pop. Grain is really enhanced by the sanding, and you can see I sanded halfway down on this one and bring it out. There's yet another slab that I brought into the shop that I got to do some sanding on. The feel of the wood is just remarkable. And on the left-hand side, I sanded down to 100 grit, and it looks pretty good. But over on this side, I took it up to really fine polishing grits. I took it up to 1200 grit. And you can see the difference, but the look and the feel, as soon as you touch it, it's like magic. Oh, it's so good. And speaking of grains, I also work with veneers a lot, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with matching up grains. This is a mahogany that I did a radial match, and this is called chatoyance, where you have the refractive quality of the woods. And you can also do pattern matches. This is a 4-way pattern match. There's so much that you can do with wood. I've got a good friend who's a woodworker who makes furniture. He's a very successful woodworker, which is kind of rare because most woodworkers are so fastidious and they take so much time to build their furniture that they've either got to charge a fortune for it, which is hard to sell, or they struggle. Most of us struggle if we try to make a living as a woodworker. I make my living as an arborist, but I dabble in woodworking. I do projects for friends. So anyway, getting back to this friend of mine, I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he says to me, "Oh, I got this black walnut slab, Claro walnut," which is what we call it here in California. Claro walnut slab. It was about 4 feet wide and about 12 feet long. He says, "I made the most beautiful table out of it. Just beautiful. The thing is, he makes his living making what he calls farm tables. And he doesn't sand the wood to perfection. He kind of exaggerates the saw marks and the defects. He finds barn wood, which is kind of cool. You know, he finds the old stuff with the patina and the defects, and he kind of sands it just enough so you can see it. And then he cleans it up. He puts an oil wax finish on it, and it looks pretty cool. It looks old. It's faux old. Anyway, he took this beautiful black walnut slab and made a great big table, but left all the saw marks, didn't sand it, lightly sanded it, brought out the color, but completely missed the beauty, completely missed the depth. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, you know, if I found a diamond in the rough, let's say I found a 20-carat diamond, and I featured that 20-carat diamond in a piece of jewelry without polishing it, without cutting it, without turning it into a faceted jewel, would that 20-carat diamond be as beautiful as if I worked it and turned it into a 15-carat faceted, amazing, beautiful piece of workmanship that you could see the clarity of the stone? Well, woodworking is a lot like that too, especially with fine woods like black walnut. Now, there's different types of black walnuts. There's Claro walnut, which we have on the West Coast, and then there's Eastern black walnut. There's also different variations of walnut. There's butternut. There's different grades of walnut. There's steamed walnut. You've got so much to deal with when it comes to walnut that it's hard to just say black walnut. Oh, I forgot. There's English walnut too. That's a much softer, mellower color. Beautiful. Persian walnut. I've heard of that before. I think that's also English walnut. Don't know. But what's in a name? There's a lot of different names for these different woods. But today, I want to talk about Claro walnut. I've got a piece of Claro walnut that I set aside years ago. This is 20 years ago that I milled up this big slab. And here's another slab that I'm working on. You can see I'm getting it sanded down. This is going to be somebody's coffee table. But this particular piece right here, it's not sanded. This is the way it came off of the mill. But I could see clearly that there was something magic in this piece of wood. This was from a log that I milled for a friend of mine. He owns a company called Global Wood Source. Look him up. They've got some amazing stuff. If you're into beautiful lumber, Russ has got some incredible stuff. He got this log that he was just so excited about that he wanted me to mill it up for him, and he wanted to pay me. And I said, you know, Russ, I think I'll just take the pick of the litter, the best piece out of the log, one section. Well, he didn't realize just how beautiful the wood was in here. And he said, sure. So we started milling, and all of a sudden we start seeing fiddleback figure. This in the center here, that was from the Y crotch. And I thought, I'm going to get the best piece, not the very, very center piece, because that's where the pith is, and there's a lot of cracking. But this piece was from about 3 to 4 inches in from one side of this massive big log. I got to back up. This log was probably 38 to 42 inches wide. I cut it with my Lucas mill with the chainsaw attachment, so I was able to cut really wide. If you look really close here, you can see the chainsaw marks. I took the time to make sure the chain was sharpened to perfection. But anyway, I milled it all up into these 2-inch slabs, and I kept one slab. This wood was so beautiful. It was about 12 feet long. He sold every slab in that entire log $1,000 a piece. I could not believe it. I got my one slab. This is years ago, and I didn't really think about the value of it as a big slab because I had a project in mind. Something I'll talk about that in a little bit. And this is one of the components of the project that I've got in mind. So in the back of my mind, I've always wanted to build I'll talk about that in a bit. But this wood was so amazing, so
extraordinary, so beautiful. Well, I finally decided that it's time to stop talking about my project and start working on it. So I'm going to finally do it. So I pulled out the piece number 1. And what I want to show you here is, first off, how I identified it from the rough piece. And when you mill it, you wet it all down, and a lot of the character and a lot of the figure and a lot of the grain comes out. But then it dulls down, it dries out. But you can still see that it's fiddleback, and this particular piece was from the crotch. So it's got a feather crotch and fiddleback throughout. And that's the way the entire log was. Every single piece was incredible fiddleback with these beautiful color striations through it from the crotch that worked its way down. You know, there's another guy that I used to work with years ago. I did a lot of video work for a guy named David Marks. Maybe you've heard of him. He's a pretty famous woodworker. He had a television show that was called Woodworks. And anyway, he talked one time about a piece of wood that he had. It was quilted mahogany, and he referred to this particular piece of wood that he got as the tree. Well, for mahogany, that one particular tree was so exemplary, so magnificent. It had all the characteristics of the best piece of wood you could imagine. Well, for black walnut, Clara walnut, this is the tree. So what I did here is I spent a bit of time cleaning it up. And the reason that I spent this time cleaning it up, see if I can get out of the reflection there, is I wanted to identify the defects, and more importantly, I wanted to identify where I was going to start working on this piece. Let me turn a light off here. That's just too bright. This piece of walnut is going to be the chair seat for a Maloof rocker, spelled M-A-L-O-O-F. Sam Maloof was the master of the finest rocking chair ever built, in my humble opinion. And many people will say that, yep, he is the master of chairs. He really is the best. He's sadly passed away in 2009, but I had the distinct pleasure of meeting Sam Maloof at his home, and he took me on a tour of his property and showed me how he worked on his rocking chairs. So that was back in 2003. So 15 years ago, I got this bug to build a Maloof rocker, but I've been afraid. I've had this wood that was so beautiful, so magnificent, and if I screw it up, oh, I would be so ashamed of myself. So I've put it off and put it off and put it off. And the other day I said, it's time. I have got to build this rocker. So I spent a lot of time sanding this piece of wood because I really wanted to see the depth of the figure and see what I'm working with. And the magic in this piece of wood is also going to push me through to actually build this piece of furniture. I sanded this. I started out at 40 grit and I went to 100 grit and I went to 120, I went up to 180, I went to 220, I went to 320, and then I got the Arborist out and I went 600 and I went 1,000. Then I went one step further. These are the Arborests here. I went to some polishing pieces here, and I ran this from, I started out at 1,200, 1,800, 2,000, 24, 30, 3,000, 36, and went all the way up to 12,000 grit. In all honesty, I don't think I achieved any more polish out of this wood by going beyond, 2,000 grit. But there was a significant improvement from 600 grit up to 2,000 grit. It brought out the polish. It also revealed the defects in the wood to a point of where I'm going to look deeper, and when I finally get to the ultimate final finish, I'm going to use a filler because there are little tiny pores in this kind of wood. Walnut is known for its pores. It's not a mistake, it's not a problem, but I really, really want to try to get just a super high gloss finish out of this wood to really show the magic of this grain. There's no finish on this. This is just sanded. And I brought it all the way up. If I put some finish on here, this thing is just going to explode. It's just going to become almost three-dimensional. It's going to become like magic. Now, other woods that don't have pores in them, the polishing is much more beneficial, like certain types of maple. If you've got a really high-figured maple, you don't have the pores in a super hard maple. And if you polish it and polish it and polish it up to a really, really fine grit, it'll get to a point where it looks as if it's got a finish on it. Doesn't have any protective coating, but the polish on it is so magical that the grain just gets better and better and better. Okay, I'm going to be carving this piece of wood all the way around. This will be the front of the seat. There's going to be a point there on the white wood. There's going to be an edge that goes all the way around that the arms go into, and the back splays for the rocking chair. So this whole thing is going to be carved out. So I don't mind putting some finish on here to show you what it's going to look like. So I'm going to bring some tung oil out here and just pour a little bit of tung oil on this. And you can see the magic that occurs when you put the finish on something like this. Now, to really bring it out, you got to go multiple coats. But at this point, you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about. You can see the fiddleback figure. You can see the feather crotch. The white wood actually darkens up a little bit, so doesn't stay white. This is called, the white wood is also the sapwood. And I honestly don't like to use a lot of sapwood in my projects from black walnut or claro walnut because the sapwood is much more prone to powder post beetles. Look at that. Oh, that is so, so beautiful. So I'm making a commitment to build this rocker. It may take me several years to do it, but on your mark, get set, go. I'm beginning.